So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kristen Murphy, Natural Resource Planner for the town and coordinator of the current Open Space Committee meeting. I'm declaring that an emergency exists and invoking the provisions of RSA 91A:2-3B. Federal, state, and local officials have determined that gatherings of 10 or more people pose a substantial risk to our community in its continuing efforts to combat the spread of COVID-19. In concurring with their determination, I also find that this meeting is imperative to the continued operation of town government and services which are vital to public safety and confidence during this emergency. As such, this meeting will be conducted without a quorum of this body physically present in the same location. At this time, I also welcome members of the public accessing this meeting remotely. Even though this meeting is being conducted in a unique manner under unusual circumstances, the usual rules of conduct and decorum apply. Thank you for your patience. So I will start by taking roll call attendance. When I state your name, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting. So Bill Campbell.
No, I'm alone. One little dog.
Okay, Gwen English, you're muted currently. Oops, you're muted, Gwen.
Oh, I am? Okay.
Oh, there you go. You're unmuted now.
Huh. Okay. All set?
Can you repeat?
I am alone in the room at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, and Lindsay White, you're muted. Oh, there we go.
I'm alone.
Great. And we are anticipating Allison Eberhardt to join us. So the time is now 12:02 and we can get started. The Open Space Committee meeting, this is a subcommittee to the Conservation Commission. And I just want to remind members that because we are discussing issues of conservation lands and future land transactions, we want to be kind of private and not disclose specific parcels that we're talking about. So the goal that I wanted us to talk about today, since our last meeting, we decided we had put together a list of priority parcels in town that contain a significant collection of resources that we felt were important to protect. Lindsay, who wears another hat with GZA, did an analysis of all townwide parcels and identified those parcels that would qualify for the aquatic resource mitigation, that would qualify well for or rank well for the aquatic resource mitigation grant that we knew would be opening up to the Piscataqua region. So between what Lindsay put together and the natural resource inventory that was completed in 2012, did we just start going live? I just saw that come up.
No, I forgot to press the broadcast button so that it is now open to the public that can join.
Okay, but no need to start over?
No.
Okay, so just in continuation, what we had done with that list of prioritized parcels is we had sent out a postcard invite. I don't know if you all, let me turn my light on. I don't know if you all had a chance to see it in person, but it's basically a two-fold note card. And then this top part, I had put some stamps on there, so that could be, oh, here's Allison joining. So that could be torn off and returned to us. And basically it just was, yes, we want to learn more about land conservation. This sounds like a way to ensure my or our land is permanently protected. And Gwen, that'll probably sound familiar to you because that came from what the Open Space Committee had done before. And then a return contact info. So welcome, Allison.
Hi, everyone.
So I was just going over a quick overview of where we are to date. So after sending those out, I sent them with a return date of April 30th. So we're really not that far past that date. I sent them out 17 different cards and they went to 18 different properties. One had one owner owned 2 parcels. And so far we've received 1 back. And so as I don't know that you all have been in discussions of this, but given the current circumstances from the town, we recognize we're financially going to be in a tough situation moving forward. The town manager has asked different departments and committees to reduce their budget substantially in anticipation of a loss of revenue and income from the state. And so that kind of, no surprise here, but that kind of puts us in a challenging circumstance. We heard back from one property owner, just based on vision appraisal of that land, the appraised amount is far greater than the $50,000 that we have in the conservation fund that was authorized back in March. But understanding that even with an ARM grant, we still wouldn't make the 30%. I think, Lindsay, can you correct me? I think it's 30% that ARM requires, or you get extra points if it's 30%.
Yes, it's 30%.
So the $50,000 would not even cover the 30% required amount. But I do think it's important to keep this communication level open. Maybe there are opportunities for us to leverage some support by reaching out to other land trusts like Southeast Land Trust. And I really just kind of wanted to get at least a general thought from all of you about, how you feel. I honestly almost felt a little weird even sending the postcards out because it's such a challenging time. So I just wanted to open that up to you all and see what your thoughts are.
Well, I think I think it is challenging. I think we've got to just kind of run in neutral for a while. Hold it, maybe even write that one person back or anybody else that responds and say, due to the crisis right now, we're not moving forward on anything, but we are interested in when we get past this circumstance, we'll get back to you in some way. Just send out a little nebulous note to let them know we're still interested, but they would understand that the circumstances at this time are not great.
Mm-hmm. I have a thought, and I should be able to. I can't seem to bring the screen up that has the hand that raises. So if I'm,
oh, that's okay. No,
I don't know why I'm not finding it, but I'm afraid if I hit the wrong thing, I'm going to lose you altogether. So
I think we're a small enough group, so if you just wiggle your hand, I can keep track of it.
This sort of dovetails. I know the next thing on your agenda was to question me on some of the things that we did for the Open Space Committee, but I was looking through a notebook that I had saved that had all my minutes for the Open Space Committee's meetings that we had. And one of the things that I discovered, which I'd completely forgotten about, was a flyer that we sent out. Front and back, just detailing various aspects of protecting open space. And it talks about how the Open Space Committee selects and evaluates land, talks about what the responsibilities of the Open Space Committee are, gives you a brief history, talks about how we make the final decisions, talks about costs that are involved in protecting land and going through the process of protecting land. And then on the back, it has a glossary of terms, and it also details, and it doesn't put all of them in, but it details various ways that a landowner could protect land. And it includes options like the right of first refusal. If a landowner decides down the road that they want to sell their land, they can set up an agreement whereby they would talk to somebody from the town or the Open Space Committee and just see if at that point we're ready to take action on a piece of property. So it can sort of bring that person into the web and give everybody a little bit of time to think about all of this. And as you said, given the current financial situations that everybody is in, that might be a good option. And then the other kind of more basic things, it talks about fee simple purchase, donation of land, or a bargain sale. So I don't know. I mean, that might be something that could be, if that's of interest to you, that could be something that could be done kind of during this waiting period, and just develop an information piece that could go out to those 17 or 18 landowners, just to kind of keep them in the loop and keep them thinking about the possibility of conserving their property. And I have all of that. I'm happy you can take this and use it at will, if that is helpful to you.
Yeah.
I really like that, Gwen. I actually like a combination of both your and Bill's ideas. I think acknowledging, it just seems, I don't know if the word's insensitive, inappropriate to really push forward right now, given all of the uncertainties, economic and otherwise. But some additional communication just to say, hey, like, acknowledge the situation. But then, this idea, it sounds like you have developed this amazing resource previously of, to keep you thinking, or just some options to peruse in the meantime, and providing some of those ideas you just mentioned, I think sounds like a good next step.
Mm-hmm.
Lindsay, what are other? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say it might be interesting to talk to the land trust to see what their stance is right at the moment, how they're proceeding, and I haven't spoken with anyone over there in quite a while, but it would be interesting. They're kind of in the same boat, probably with more funds, but it would be maybe an educational opportunity for the Open Space Committee to kind of tap into what other groups are doing. Just a thought.
I can tell you, Southeast Land Trust is continuing to work right now, and pursuing the ones they've already been working with. They're a little cautious what they'll take up next, but they're still trying to do what they've been doing.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Lindsay,
they're in a little different position.
Yeah, definitely.
Lindsay, have you had any experience with other communities?
As far as projects?
Yeah.
Certainly not during these times. And I agree with everyone's points so far. I know for the ARM funding, partnerships are certainly encouraged. So working with CELT could be an option. But I also think it's important to note for the current ARM funding application process, the first part of it, which is the pre-proposal, is due May 29th. And I don't see any information currently on their website of extending that application. And so that's kind of where it stands currently. Is that an application would be due, or at least the pre-proposal is due May 29th.
Okay. So, I think all of that is really good ideas. I think it's important to keep in mind that, we have not had conversations with this landowner. And I'd be interested to see if the former collection of Open Space Committee members had, but just not knowing, maybe they're talking about donation, maybe they're talking about bargain sale. Those are things that we have not opened the door for conversation. And so I think that, Gwen, I think your approach with the brochure and maybe a follow-up phone conversation would be a great next step. And so, Lindsay, I'll just briefly, so Lindsay's company, GZA, offered to do the pre-proposal process for Exeter, which was a phenomenal offer. I'm kind of getting the sense that maybe we're not ready to go there. Lindsay, how do you feel about that?
It's certainly up to
the town, the subcommittee, whether or not they want to go for it. The pre-application process is pretty simple. It's just a couple pages and a description of what we would like to do. And so I don't think the effort to submit that would be heavy, but if we're not in a place to be submitting or going forward with a land acquisition project at this time for funding reasons or whatnot, then I think that's totally understandable. And so that's kind of where we stand.
In terms of amount, does the pre-proposal process require a current appraisal?
I have not looked into that part of it,
Okay.
So I can't confirm or deny at this moment.
Is that a matching grant program?
It's 30%.
Yes, we have to have, or we get more points for having at least 30%.
Because what Kristen just said about Russ wanting us to cut back on our expenses, I don't think we can think to expend money in that direction as even a small amount. I don't know.
Right, and certainly I don't think there would be support to go to town meeting in 2020, 2021.
That's what I'm thinking, unfortunately, because I would be, I don't know if this was clear, but Gwen, if you could either drop that off sometime or send a copy to Kristen so she could duplicate it, or keep it herself and then send you back the copy so that we have that as a reference in the file. I think, because I think that booklet it has some good ideas in it.
Also, just looking quickly at the pre-proposal application handout, it does look like we would need to state how much we're requesting and the source of matching funds. So that would need to be determined beforehand.
Okay. All right. So to me, it sounds like we're not poised to go for an ARM grant this year. Do you all agree?
I'd probably agree. And it could change. They could, I don't know, it hasn't been changed yet for the application process. But, they could change the deadlines or reevaluate or submit a call for proposals at a later date again. So.
Okay.
Lindsay, this is typically a once a year opportunity. Is that how it typically runs with the ARM?
I believe so, but I'm also partially new to the ARM funding process, so this is new to me as well. Okay.
So I can say it has been a couple years since the Piscataqua region has been opened up as an opportunity. I don't know that we can. I don't know that we can anticipate that we'll have another opportunity next year, as tough as that is to say. But if other communities and other entities looking to use ARM grant funding are in the same boat as Exeter is, maybe there'll still be funds available. I don't know. I think that would be a highly unlikely, but the fact of the matter, the steps for us to get that defined dollar amount, there would need to be at least several discussions with the property owner, a contract to go out to get an appraisal for that property, and so that we have the dollar amount moving forward and some plan for match. And that just seems like a lot of stuff to pull together in, just a few short weeks, or at most a few short weeks. I share that, Gwen.
True.
So, I guess the other part of this, I don't know, Gwen, I do not have a lot of experience talking with land. Most of the land acquisition stuff I've been involved in has been negotiated through wetland applications or planning board cases. I do have some experience on the Dover Open Lands Committee, but that's typically handled by the chair of that committee. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the discussions and outreach that you did through the Open Space Committee. Was that individual members? Was it one person who did all the talking? How did that play out?
Again, looking back at notes we'd taken previously, kind of helped tremendously in refreshing my memory. But we, as you know, we sent out postcards. I don't remember what the return rate was on those. I probably have a note to kind of shed some light on how many responses we got. But we did divide up the list of kind of the priority pieces that we had our eye on. And we divided up those parcels. There were members of the committee who perhaps knew some of those landowners or had some connection to them. And of course, it made sense for those folks to reach out to those property owners. So we kind of divided it up, but we all took turns talking with various individuals and just kind of starting out with asking if they'd gotten our mailings, if they had any questions about it, and just trying to get a sense for where they stood as far as the future of their property was concerned. And we had some people in town who had been in town for a long time and knew these properties pretty well. As I said, some people knew the property owners well. So we were really fortunate to have like a solid group of folks. I was probably the newest to the group, and I talked to a landowner who actually owns property across the street from us. I had not met them before, but it was helpful kind of having some local connections. Not necessary, but it was certainly helpful. And from there, I mean, we had a limited amount of money. And once we sort of got some feedback from people, it was pretty easy to kind of narrow our focus down to those select properties and go from there. I will say that there are those people are still in town, Jody Pellerin being one who was on the committee. John Haslam was also on the committee, as was Peter Dow, who had previously been the town planner. So he was very well informed and was incredibly helpful. And I don't know whether some or all of those people might be willing to participate in this. I don't know how you would feel about that, but I can certainly reach out to any of them if there are particular properties that are of high interest to you and you would just like to maybe get a sense for how you should approach those property owners. I'd be happy to help in any way I can with that. And I can also look back on my notes and just get a sense for what their responses were back in 20 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
Not quite that long.
That's crazy.
I don't know. It's been a long time. But I am more than happy to do. I mean, there are a few who I know through all of this. They're not personal friends particularly, but they're people who I know, and I can certainly shed some light on those folks. But for the others, I'll do what I can. And if I can connect you with people who might have inroads into those connections, I'd be happy to participate in that.
Yeah. How does the committee feel? I personally, that sounds like a great idea. I think the names that you named were people who know this process in and out, and are very. Although John Haslam, I'm not familiar with Haslam.
Yeah, Has.
Okay. Was he? The name is familiar, but I can't make the connection.
He was on the Conservation Commission for a while.
He was there through the 90s, quite a bit.
Yeah, okay. He's great. And he's been in town for quite a long time. They know a lot of people. He's a good man. Tom Chamberlain is another one. He doesn't live in Exeter anymore, but he was an integral part of the group. And those of you who are on the land trust or have been here probably know him as well. But yeah, they're good contacts to have.
Would you all agree that it's worth reaching out?
Agree to which, Kristen?
reaching out to the people she named, Jody, Peter Dow, and John, to see if they would have insight on how best to connect with some of these landowners.
Definitely. I think so. Yeah. Bill, you're muted.
Wonder what properties we might look at what properties we are mostly interested in.
Yeah, I mean,
I know a couple of those properties, but
yeah, I was speaking specifically about the one property that we did hear back from.
yeah, I know that gentleman a little bit.
And I know we have to be careful about.
Yeah. Another opportunity might be, so we do have a non-public session scheduled for the Conservation Commission meeting. Gwen, I don't know if that's something you'd be available to join us in. The challenge is it's at the end of the Conservation Commission meeting, so knowing what time it'll be at, I don't have a guess, but
I'd be happy to do that. And if it would be easy if someone wanted to just call and say, we're done, ready to go into non-public session. I can just tune in then, as long as I'm on the list to poke my head in.
Yeah, I can add you.
That would work.
Okay. Does that help you at least kind of delay a little bit what you were hoping to say?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so it sounds like moving forward as a committee, we are supportive of doing a next step outreach to at least that individual, and explain that we feel as a committee maybe we're not ready for the ARM grant process, and just go from there. See how the conversations go with the landowner. It might be another opportunity, as Bill suggested, to maybe look at some of the other parcels on the list. The postcard had an opportunity to say, no, thank you, I'm not interested at this time. And so we didn't get a no either from the other owners. So if there are connections, personal connections, maybe looking at that list and going through like Gwen, you had done in the past, would be a good second step as well. All right.
Would you be comfortable sending me the names of the people who you have sent those cards to? Yep. And then I can look through and refresh my memory on some of them.
Yes, I can do that. I think
there are probably some, I'm sure they're mostly the same people we talk to, but that would be helpful if that is okay with you.
Yeah, it's okay with me. Absolutely.
Okay.
Because, the ones you sent out are a subset of what the people that I don't think there are any new ones on that list. Maybe there are, but there mostly would be a subset you would know.
Okay. All right.
Anything else we want to talk about before we put this to bed? No?
I think you did a good summary.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for connecting like this. Gwen, I will be sure to have you added to the non-public session for Tuesday night. And what was that?
This coming Tuesday. I meant to ask you that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's this coming Tuesday. The Conservation Commission meeting starts at 7. Okay. I suspect it'll probably be onwards of 8:15 or so. I hate to say that, but because Zoom meetings are tough to deal with in long lengths, but to get through what we have before us, it'll probably be sometime after 8.
Okay. That works.
All right.
Thanks for joining us, Gwen.
Thank you for inviting me.
From your experience.
And I will get the brochure to you.
Okay, that would be great. And then I can start kind of recreating that in something that we can replicate.
Okay.
All right. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Good.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.